Hi. So the last few days I've been looking at the film and the television adaptation of The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. This is part of the Narnia series. If you've clicked onto this video, you'll know that's the subject I'm talking about. Now, I've long been familiar with the series. I grew up with it, like many older millennials, I guess. It was part of our childhood. And I think some people my age might remember the BBC series, which ran from 1988 to 1990. And it covered four of the stories, which was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and The Silver Chair. Now, there was actually seven books in the whole Narnia series. I'll just show you. I've got a copy here of the seven books. I actually bought this for nostalgic reasons because I realized that these were my favorite childhood stories, and I didn't actually have complete copies of them. So I thought if I ever have children, then here we go. So, yeah, the seven stories in order are The Magician's Nephew, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, Silver Chair, and The Last Battle. Now, C.S. Lewis was born in my home city, or my birth city of Belfast, but he spent most of his life in Oxford, and he became famous there along with J.R.R. Tolkien. Um, he once described, and I don't want to make this video just about C.S. Lewis, but just a little bit of background. He once described that heaven for him would be if you take the city of Oxford and put it in the middle of the County Down, as he put it. In other words, Oxford's a beautiful city and County Down's a beautiful county, so mix the two together. Um, as a child, Lewis, who was actually born the same year that Lewis Carroll died, another bit of trivia, but he used to create these lands, and his brother, who was interested in maritime issues, would be interested in shipping and so on, and they would work together on these early sort of ideas. Um, anyway, I want to talk about comparing the well-known big-budget Disney version of these stories to the BBC version. Now, just a quick note on this. For some reason, three of the stories had never been adapted to screen. I haven't seen any version of them, even obscure versions. The Magician's Nephew, The Horse and His Boy, and The Last Battle. They've never been adapted to screen. Now, of those seven stories, I think The Horse and His Boy is the only one that doesn't have any connection to England, to our world. All the others have some connection. I think it's really a pity that The Magician's Nephew hasn't been adapted, at least that one, um, because it's a good read. And uh, disclaimer here, I might give a spoiler. There is a part in the story that explains why the famous lamppost in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is there. So I think it's a pity that it's set in the Edwardian era, so about 30 years before the events of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's a good story, and I just think it's a pity that they've never been adapted. I don't know why the BBC chose to do it that way, and the Disney versions have done the same thing. I've only seen one other version, which was this ghastly American animated version from the 70s. Now, the reason I'm so critical is it just wasn't, to me, Narnia. All the children had American accents. The animation was not great. Okay, it was quite old. It was from 1978, so it was actually the first adaptation, perhaps, but it just wasn't watchable at all, in my opinion. It was all right. It had its moments. It was the basic story, but it just wasn't. It didn't have the charm of the BBC version. I remember as a child, me and my cousins went to see The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe as a stage adaptation at I think it was the Empire Theatre in Belfast, or the Europa Hotel, I believe it was. But yeah, there is no Empire Theatre in Belfast, and one in Sunderland. But that was a good childhood memory. Of the stories, my favorite was always The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I just really warmed to it. I thought it was very nice around Christmas time. Now, I've actually got the old VHS versions of this, and these must be pretty rare now, but they've got beautiful artwork. There we have The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Barbara Kellerman, I should say, was great as the White Witch. Um, Prince Caspian, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and actually I do have the silver chair, but it's missing the artwork. I also decided to get those on DVD just because I like them so much, and videos aren't reliable. I've got the same thing on DVD, and I've got the free Disney versions: Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, um, Prince Caspian, and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Now, unfortunately, they never got round to making the silver chair, which disappointed a lot of Narnia fans. I think many people envisaged what that might have been, and it's a pity that never got round to being made. So this video is kind of for people who either know the old BBC series, so they'll know what I'm referring to, or maybe they haven't seen it. You can find re-uploads. There's at least two different versions you can find on YouTube, so do check it out. Um, First of all, let's talk about the obvious. The BBC budget was a lot smaller than the Disney budget, so you have to take that into consideration. Obviously, sort of dynamic for special effects is going to be a lot better in the Disney version, and these are fantasy stories that comes with it. Having said that, um, maybe it's a bias because I grew up with the BBC versions, which was kind of a mini series. Um, but I think they've got certain charms that the Disney version doesn't have. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the Disney version. I still think it's very watchable and enjoyable. But I'll kind of work a little bit from through these films. Like I say, The Silver Chair wasn't adapted through these stories, I should say. So, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I have to say, to give the Disney version credit, they do get the sort of prelude very well done. The BBC version kind of goes straight into it, where the children turn up in the countryside and they're introduced, and that's that. The children were great actors. I thought they fitted their characters very well. And you can also find an interview on YouTube when they're a bit older in their 20s, sort of looking back. I thought they were great young actors. They really got into the roles. The old professor is just as I imagined him. Many people think he's kind of modelled on C.S. Lewis himself. One thing about the BBC version, the intro music was beautiful. It was very well done. It was kind of the map of Narnia and its kind of cloudy sequence. It's very unique, and I really like that. But the Disney version has that beautiful song, "Evacuating London," I believe it's called, and it is a very nice piece of music as well. Like I said, the Disney version gets more into sort of the prelude. They actually show the Blitz. They show the whole sequence of that, and you do get the suspense. So I think that was well done. Um, the actors, again, they're good at the role. I can't criticize them. Some slight differences in terms of their appearance, but broadly speaking, I can't say that they don't fit the characterizations that they were written. I think both versions done that well, actually. Um, Aslan, voiced by Liam Neeson in the Disney version, voiced by several different people in the BBC version. Of course, the Disney one is kind of CGI. Excuse me, the Disney one CGI. The BBC one is some sort of robot. And to my shame, I believe that was a real lion for a long time when I was very young. I mean, bear in mind these were made when I was 4 or 5 years old. I think my auntie and uncle got these for a Christmas present. But basically, yeah, um, Barbara Kellerman as the White Witch was great. She, I think, came from stage acting, and you can't see that. But then again, Tilda Swinton was great as the White Witch as well. Um, Barbara Kellerman, perhaps a bit more dramatic, some might say over the top. I think it both worked well. That approach in both versions worked well. One big difference between the two versions is that the talking animals in the BBC version are basically people in suits, and you can see that. I mean, the beavers, for example, are massive. And that kind of gave a slightly surreal, almost slightly creepy look in the old BBC version, but I liked it nonetheless. The Disney version, excuse me, on the other hand, beavers look like beavers, mice look like mice, and so on. Um, But I wouldn't necessarily hold that artificial look against the BBC, not just for the low budget, but also it kind of gave a certain charm. Now, maybe I would say that people looking at this now that didn't see it as children might be very critical because of that. But for those of us who have nostalgia, that's a factor. Prince Caspian, now that's an area where I do think the Disney version was much better. Again, they got much more into the prelude of the situation. Um, you know, where basically this is a heir to the throne whose life is being threatened. It's a dramatic situation. It's a dramatic scene, and I thought the Disney version handled that very well. The BBC version, obviously, they have to work within their budget. It felt more like, to me, it was definitely weak compared to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and it's possibly the weakest of the four films for me. But had its moments. Mogrim the Wolf, again in the Disney version, it looks like a wolf. The fact in the BBC version it was basically a man in the suit gave quite a creepy appearance. If I have a little still shot here, maybe you can see that. I used to find his character particularly creepy. It's not very long. The BBC version's only about an hour and 10 minutes. The film version's obviously a big feature film. A lot more special effects in the film version. Now, moving on to the Voyage of the Dawn Treader. I might actually give the BBC version an edge on this, and this is why. Obviously, the special effects get into the Disney version, very impressive. But I sometimes wondered did they overdo it just slightly. I mean, at the start, the storyline is that Lucy and Edmund go to stay with their cousin Eustace. Peter and Susan have a minimal role in this story. Eustace is a spoiled brat, basically, very unpleasant child. And he is a child. Will Poulter was slightly older in the film version. A word about Prince Caspian, incidentally. That's perhaps one thing the BBC got correct. He was portrayed by a child. Now, Ben Barnes obviously played him in the Disney version. Ben Barnes is 27 at the time. Prince Caspian's meant to be 13, and although Ben Barnes could pass for slightly younger, that was definitely a push. Um, they did do that in the BBC version, as you can see, young boy. Now, in Voyage of the Dawn Treader, sometime later, Narnia time, therefore Caspian's growing up, and he's played by Samuel West. Many people still believe that Samuel West is the best Caspian. Um, there's a few merits I think the Voyage of the Dawn Treader had in the BBC version over the film version. Like the bit where Eustace kind of grabs a picture and water literally gushes out of it. I just thought that was over the top. Now, I know in the BBC version they're sucked into the painting and it does look quite cheap and so on, but I don't know. I understand the logic of the Disney version, but I think it was just a case of, oh, we've got special effects, let's use them. And at some point when it's overdone, it takes away the magic effect because um, to me, the whole intrigue of magic and fantasy films is that it is quite subtle. Um, whereas the Disney one is just like, okay, let's just flood the room. Uh, I understood the logic of it, but I didn't. I don't think that was as good as. I mean, it looked visually better, but I don't know. To me, it wasn't as close to the novel. I think probably the BBC one was a lot more loyal to the original book. Caspian in both versions is growing up, still played by Ben Barnes. In the Disney version, played by Samuel West. In the BBC version. Now, the actors that play Eustace, Will Poulter, of course, in the Disney version. Will Poulter's a good actor. I thought he was very good in Detroit, where he's a very unpleasant character. Um, he was obviously in The Maze Runner, and he was suitably obnoxious in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. However, David Thwaites, who played him in the BBC version, I think had a slight edge because he was even more of a loathsome child. He was really more than just a spoiled brat. He was a nasty piece of work. Will Poulter's Eustace is a bit pathetic. I don't think he's as mean spirited as David Thwaites' Eustace. Um, but it's that's just my personal take. I know I've got a phone call. I don't want to re-upload this. Chris, can you just hold a minute? I'm just making a video. Christian, hello? Excuse me. Christian, can you just hold? Okay, that's just my friend, but I don't want to re-upload the video. So I'll just quickly round this up. I also feel that the magician in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, the Disney version, was like kind of middle-aged. If you see the BBC version, my friend's laughing because he knows what I'm talking about here. If you see the BBC version, he looks ancient. He looks like a wizard, an old wizard. Um, and let's see, coming to the silver chair, I can't talk about the Disney version because there wasn't one, but the BBC version, actress who played the character of Jill Pole, Camilla Parr, was very good at that. Eustace is in that as well. He's now matured. He's a better character. Uh, some very creepy moments in that version. Some great lines as well. The monologue was great. I can't compare it to the Disney version because there wasn't one. Great pity. Anyway, just to round this up, if you haven't seen the BBC version, do check them out. They've been uploaded online. Um, I think both versions have different strengths. One more thing about the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, which is the whole sequence where Lucy goes into the magician's house. In the Disney version, I was somewhat disappointed by that because the house kind of disappeared through the air. Whereas if you look at the BBC version, it's an actual house and I know it's meant to be invisible, but the children can see it. That's the point. And I just think it was done in a better way, considering the much lower budget. So that's my summary. I like both versions. I love the stories. I've even got this academic book, very not for children. This is written by a clergyman. It's very academic, philosophical. It's about the long-standing idea that Lewis was figured of Christian theology when he wrote these stories. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. What's your favourite story of the Narnia series? Have you seen the BBC version? If you haven't, do check it out. And let me know your thoughts. I'm sure there's other things I can add, but I'll round it up and my friend is waiting. So thanks for watching.